All right, guys, we are back with another episode commentary on everyone's favorite Knight Rider series, Team Knight Rider. Now, I'll be honest with you. I have still not fully committed to doing this entire first season of the show. For me, it was kind of neat, especially for Fallen Nation, to rewatch it after not seeing it for decades. Because I remember watching all of these when they were originally on. So, to me, it's kind of neat to revisit them, but there are some real stinkers of episodes, and this one is probably one of them in my book. Some of you have suggested maybe I should just review some of the more popular episodes like Crow and Legion of Doom, which is not out of the realm of possibilities, but like I said, I may still do each episode. We'll see. We'll take it one at a time. You guys let me know in the comments if I should just suck it up and get through each episode of Team Knight Rider, or if I should just stick to the highlights, or if I should just give up on Knight Rider sequel series altogether. All right, well, let's go ahead. Let's review the Magnificent TKR. Production V0508, The Magnificent TKR. This episode originally aired in syndication the week of October 13th, 1997. And it was rerun in syndication the week of December 15th, 1997, and the week of August 10th of 1998. It was written by John Scheinfeld and directed by Gil Wadsworth. The synopsis reads as follows. Jean-Claude Laval, a former French official, takes a small Mexican town hostage after stealing a super powerful magnet. All right, well, let's see what we got here. Christine Steele, who plays Jenny Andrews in this series, said at the time, I loved the Western theme. It was very dusty and we were on location. I don't see it as being a bad episode. It was fun to shoot. E! Entertainment Television even came out on set to do interviews with all of us. So note in the credits here, executive producer Glenn A. Larson. Glenn Larson didn't have anything to do with the production of Team Knight Rider. He was also credited in the Knight Rider 2000, and he didn't have anything to do with the production of that either. But it was in his contract that any future iterations of Knight Rider have him as an executive producer, and that's what you're seeing here. So there's a lot of themes in this episode borrowed from those classic westerns like the Magnificent Seven, where they do the showdowns, you know, the meeting at high noon, guns drawn, close-ups on eyes like you see here. At the end of this episode, we do see a showdown between one of the bad guys and Domino, and she wins with her laser. So very heavily influenced by a lot of those classic westerns, this episode was. Another mistake in this episode. So there's all these kids, and they said earlier in the scene, they said something like they have 7 kids hostage or 8 kids hostage or whatever. But if you look in the scene, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 right there. So again, another instance of, you know, they just didn't care as much about little details like that. Clearly, this whole series was sponsored by Ford, and you're going to see that throughout the series. So here we have Mr. Daniel Waldo, I believe he's CIA, drive up in a Ford Fiesta. And again, that theme is going to play out throughout the rest of the series. Tons of Ford product placement. More product placement than you ever saw in the original series. You know, you saw, I mean, obviously KITT was a Pontiac, but they actually went to great lengths to not call KITT a Pontiac, where here it's just Ford in your face all the time. And you've got your cheesy jokes where he says his name is Waldo, and then Trek says something like, hey, they found you, right? That's just wonderful. So one of the things I'm trying to do as we go is look at the vehicles and see how they change as the series progresses. So in this case, it looks like Beast is pretty much the same he was in Fallen Nation. You got the brush guard, the winch, and the turn signal or the fog light, whatever these were on a stock F-150. Those have been changed out to missiles. But other than that, it's pretty much a stock truck. Then we come here and you get a good look at, well, not a good look, a somewhat decent look at Duke's comlink. The whole team has comlinks. They're not customized. They're simply just standard watches that they use to communicate with the team members and the cars. Nothing like we saw in the original series. All right, so when we look at Beast's dashboard, we see here, interestingly, there's a button for Cat, Play-Doh, and Domino, but there's no button for Dante, which is interesting. And I don't know why you'd need a specific button for these cars like that. But it does say Comlink, which is interesting. It's spelled differently than the original series, but there's Comlink right there. And something else of interest that happened also in the 2008 sequel series is how they refer to, like this group that works for Flag is known as Team Knight Rider. So they're actually putting the name of the show in universe, which they never did with the original series. It was never, hi, I'm Michael Knight with the Knight Riders. It was never like that. But they did that here, and they did it in the 2008 sequel series as well. Here we get a good look at the engine bay of Dante. So it's mostly a stock engine bay. We see that this particular car was outfitted with the Triton 5.4 liter V8. This put out 230 horsepower, which was like 100 more horsepower than the Trans Ams did, a decade ago. But look at the firewall. It's red, which tells us that this Ford Expedition was originally red and they painted it gray for the series. And you see they obviously threw in some wires here to make Trek, look like he's working to remove Dante's CPU. This whole scene is ridiculous. To think that you can just remove a chip from Dante, place it in another car, place that chip in another car, and then all of a sudden Dante is, put into the Ford Fiesta here, and he can drive and do everything just by putting that chip in. And again, another continuity issue. Here we see Dante, the Expedition, backing into the Ford Fiesta driverless, even though Dante's chip was removed. And you see the rest of the team, Kyle and everyone else, they're standing off to the side. So how's Dante moving? I don't know. And, they put, like I said in the last episode, they put the TKR logo everywhere, including the hubs of the cars. There it is there, and we'll see it again in a minute. Yeah, there's Dante moving and hitting the Ford Fiesta while he shouldn't be able to. And if that's not bad enough, there's a giant dent right there in the tailgate of the Expedition when there shouldn't be. More TKR badging on the wheels of Domino. And it looks like they put in a shield behind there, like a brake dust shield. Maybe to make the wheel look make it stand out a little bit more. I don't know. And just for good measure, more TKR logos on the hubs right there. Here we have Nick Welshler as Trek breaking the fourth wall, looking directly at the camera. And why not? There's one more little TKR logo. They're just kind of everywhere. Like I said, later in the series, you're going to see those logos on handbags and cases and all this stuff. They just splashed it everywhere. Why not? This car, by the way, this combo car, and I'd actually call it a combo car, I think, in the next episode, the A-list, if I remember correctly. But this is not actually built out of two motorcycles. It's a chassis, and then they built a fiberglass body that sat on top of it. So it's almost similar to the Flivver car in the original Knight Rider show that they put the Trans Am shell over. It's similar to that. It's almost like a dune buggy chassis, and they put a shell on top. No, it's not the same chassis as the Flivver car. We know that. And you'll see there's the front of Domino. They clearly had a couple of each cars, but you'll see Sometimes Domino has a tow bar receiver right here in this opening. Sometimes she doesn't. Here she doesn't. Later on in the series, there's going to be a few other little modifications to the front of the car that you'll see. And in fact, here, look at this scene. There's the tow bar in this other action scene right there. So again, they're clearly two different cars. This is probably the insert car that they're using for not insert purposes, and the other one is a stunt car. And this is going back to the beginning of the episode, which I skipped, but you do have to give the stunt guys some credit for this stunt. I mean, they did a rollover of this van, then this giant explosion, and look, you can see a camera mounted on the side of the Mustang right there. And then this car flipping up in the air wildly. It's just, it's pretty impressive, really, the stunt that they did here. All right, and then the episode ends, and just like the classic Westerns, they all ride off into the sunset. And that is the end of the Magnificent TKR. I know, super short, but let's be honest, there's not much meat on the bone in this episode. But I'm going to cover it anyways, or I did cover it anyways. So next up is the A-list. That'll be the third season, or the third episode of Team Knight Rider. And there's actually an original series alum, a 2-time original series Knight Rider guest star that appears in that episode. So might be a few nuggets there as well. All right, that's all I got for today. Let me know, should I continue the TKR episodes, the episode commentaries? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks, guys, for watching. See you next time.